Hello everyone, as you may have heard of, I am here for another We Need to Talk About video. So, today we're going to talk about Greenie Fatum, the movie. But first, two things: this'll be the first video that Roblox will be in the background, same as the music plays, and one thing, if you guys still like this movie, I can handle your thoughts. So, if you guys haven't heard of it, Greenie Fatum the movie is a movie by Robert Stainton, Lord Robert 2023. It is based on his series Greenie Fatum. If you've watched any episodes of Greenie Fatum, you already know that this movie is not going to be a good one. 24 reasons will be given why it's wretched. 1. The animation, if you could even call it that, is astoundingly awful. The animation, as par for the course for Greenie Fatum videos, is basically a glorified slideshow of atrocious MS Paint drawings that make the average Johnny Test tape art look like Starry Night in comparison. 2. The audio mixing in some parts of the movie is vile. The loud music in some scenes, combined with the poor quality of the text-to-speech recordings, can make it hard to understand what the characters are saying. The sound is sometimes loud enough that it ends up being distorted. 3. The voice acting is mostly done by text-to-speech voices, and the poor quality of the recordings can make it hard to understand what the characters are saying at times. When the voices are not being done by text-to-speech voices or audio from shows, a kid, presumably its creator, does the voices. Why couldn't he have voiced the other characters? 4. The plot is uninteresting, inconsistent, beyond idiotic, and has so many plot holes that not even all the Swiss cheese in the world can top the amount of holes the plot has. Plot points are also suddenly introduced with no build-up. 5. The characters make very bizarre and stupid decisions for equally stupid or even non-existent reasons. 6. The movie feels biased against Dr. Beanson and in favor of Little Guy. For example, when Dr. Beanson finds a toy and buys it, Little Guy, who was supposedly in a bad mood because Dr. Beanson asked him not to constantly watch Little Guy Insanity so much, and Little Guy to get angry at him for no discernible reason. Also, even though Dr. Beanson says that he bought the toy, the characters act like he shoplifted the toy, and Little Guy does not let Dr. Beanson explain himself. Additionally, rather than the stolen toy being returned to the Toys R Us, it is given to Little Guy. 7. There are tons of filler, scenes that drag on for way too long, and big-lipped alligator moments. For example, after Dr. Beanson shoplifts again, Little Guy randomly reads an unusual sale sign for a Home Depot walk-in kitchen. Additionally, there is a sing-along section in Russian. Sometimes, characters will repeat a phrase, 3 days, you can't have that back, etc., over and over again, which can get incredibly irritating quickly. 8. At one point in the movie, specifically the 1:18 and 10 seconds mark, Little Guy tells Dr. Beanson that Russians should be in prison forever along with thieves, which is very offensive to Russians. 9. The intro music is on par with the Lexabook TV game console's WXN games in terms of being ear-bleedingly horrible. It sounds like a badly compressed tune from Mario Paint. 10. Some settings are inconsistent for what the characters are describing. After the aforementioned scene, Little Guy asks for Dr. Mother's opinion on the toy store they are in, despite the backgrounds clearly being shots of the interior of a Home Depot store. 11. The ending is extremely idiotic, unsatisfying, and tries to make a no-stealing moral out of the movie. 12. The characters are not very interesting or likable, and their personalities are inconsistent at times. For example, Little Guy, the main protagonist of the movie, sometimes gets angry for little to no reason at all, such as whenever Dr. Beanson buys the toy Little Guy and Little Guy 2 have. For another example, Dr. Mother hates anything that she thinks is for babies, this including toy stores and the toy that is one of the main focuses of the movie. She even takes the toy away from Little Guy and Little Guy 2 just because it's for babies, forcing the two to buy a new one. 13. Some scenes, such as when Little Guy and Little Guy 2 were walking through the snow, the electric Avenue scene and the animated big ball of violence, are recycled. 14. The jokes are very weak and sometimes make no sense. 15. Copyrighted songs, audios, and clips from shows, movies, and games are overused. Licensed characters also show up from time to time with little to no explanation. 16. Pop culture references and product placements happen quite often and become quite tiring. 17. The character designs are inconsistent between scenes. 18. The dialogue is capable of destroying half of a viewer's brain cells with how nonsensical it can be. Some examples being I wonder this toy store that has little guy insanity stuff all over it, and why did he troll me from last time? The broken English does not help, either. 19. Most of the characters don't even get a proper introduction. 20. Whenever Green Bob II talks, the Loquendo jingle, complete with the auto-tuned female voice, can be heard in the background. 21. Little Guy's voice changes to a deeper voice whenever he is angered, which feels inconsistent. 22. Some sound effects are used in rather unusual or nonsensical ways. For example, in Dr. Beanson's Nightmare, where he is confronted by the police for shoplifting, the tune that plays when the player starts Galaga or the bonus levels in the same game are completed plays near the end of the nightmare. 23. The video's description claims that the movie came out on February 18, 2005, when the upload date clearly states otherwise. It also claims that companies like Sony Wonder, Paramount, Klasky Csupo, Children's Television Workshop, and Art, which later renamed to Cookie Jar Group in 2004 before being acquired by DHX Media in 2012, were involved in it, and famous cartoon writers worked on it, which are obviously false. And lastly, 24, the poster for the movie is a ripoff of the poster for South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. The movie's tagline also rips off one of the taglines for the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, Hero, Legend, Sponge. The two redeeming qualities are 1. The movie can be good ironically, and lastly, 2. Unlike some of the movies like Stick Figure the Movie and Go Animate the Movie on this wiki, this video is actually long enough to properly qualify as a movie. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. End of video.